Hey there, CJ Math students. Welcome to homework number 8, subtracting rational numbers practice. Please use this if you were absent or just need a refresher and studying for a quiz or a test. So things to remember for subtracting decimals, you always must KCC. Use SSAK and DSSM after that. Line up numbers on the decimals and then fill in empty spaces with zeros. So for number 1, we're going to start off by KCC. Under post KCC, we'll write the new type. You see it becomes 4.5 plus negative 12.9. That is a different sign, subtract more. So because we have more negatives, 12.9 has to go on top. So you're lining everything up on the decimal, and then again, you said it was DSSM, so you're subtracting. So go ahead and subtract. You'll get 8.4, but remember you want to keep the sign of the one that you have more of, which is negative, so you get negative 8.4. Right, number 2, 3 and 4, I have done the KCC and rewritten the problem for you post KCC. And then told you what type it is. So on number 2, because I have more positives, it's a DSSM. I'm going to go on ahead and put 3.75 on top and 1.8 on bottom. Empty space gets a 0. I'm subtracting because I said it was DSSM. I'm going to need to borrow here because I can't do 7 minus 8. It becomes 17 minus 8. I get 1.95. It stays positive because I had more positives. All right. I've completed the other 2 problems, 3 and 4 as well. You'll notice in 3 it became an SSAK problem because minus negative, just keep 10.7 plus and change that negative to a positive. And the type in number 4 is also an SSAK. Remember though, it's not 24.7. You had 2 negatives. You got to keep the negative, so it's negative 24.7. Right. So for subtracting fractions, things to remember that we want a KCC first. Anytime we see a subtraction sign, that will lead us to a SSAK or DSSM problem. We need to find common denominators. Got to make sure the denominators are the same, so that's going to require us to multiply by at least common multiple. And then factor, and then always simplify, no improper fractions. So if I have something like 13 over 8, I got to make sure I simplify this by asking myself, all right, 8 goes into 13 one time with 5 left over, so that's why that's 1 and 5/8. Okay, so for number 5, here we go. In KCC, that becomes negative 1/6. Keep that plus a negative 2/3. You'll notice that's an SSAK problem. So I have negative 1/6 plus negative 2/3. I'm asking myself, what's the common denominator of 6 and 3? Turns out to be 6. If I put my finger on 3 and 6 on my multiplication chart, I'll see they both have 6. So how do I make negative 2/3 become 6? I multiply it by 2. So negative 1/6 plus a negative 4/6. That's an SSAK problem, becomes negative 5/6. Make sure to keep that negative sign. All right. The next problem, 5/8 minus negative 3/4 becomes 5/8. Change the minus sign to a plus sign. The negative 3/4 to a positive 3/4. So 5/8 plus 3/4. The common denominator between 8 and 4 happens to be 8. So again, I'm multiplying by 2. And I get 5/8 plus 6/8, which is 11/8. That's an improper fraction. So I got to ask myself, okay, how many times does 8 go in 11? It goes in there 1 time with 3 left over, and that's how I get 1 and 3/8. You'll notice in 7, KCC, it becomes 3/12 plus 1 and 2/3. You'll notice how I'll break apart the mixed number and the fraction here. That way I'll use the commutative property of addition. I'll put the fractions next to each other, and I'll kind of keep the whole number off to the side. I can use that later. So now I'm just asking myself, what's the common denominator between 3/12 and 2/3? Happens to be 12, so I'm multiplying the 3/12 by 4. And now I'm going to add 3/12 plus 2 times 4 is 8/12. Plus 1, so it's really 11/12 plus 1, and it just gives me my answer, 1 and 11/12. So you see how I kind of took the whole number here, put it off to the side, worked with the fractions first, and then add the whole number on. At the end, I can do that because everything was the same sign, right? Last one, number 8. Here we have negative 1/2 plus a positive 4/5 after KCC, so it's a DSSM problem. You're asking yourself, what is the common denominator between negative 1/2 and 4/5? So 2 and 5. So we're just going to multiply the 4/5 by 2 because the common denominator is 10, and the negative 1/2 by 5. Again, the common denominator is 10. So we get negative 5 over 10 plus 8 over 10. Remember, it's a DSSM problem. Different signs subtract more. I have more positives, so 8 minus 5 is 3, and it stays positive because I had more positives, so 3/10. Right? I put on your fractions and decimals and percents equivalents because on the back I might give you a problem like this. So Negative 7.5, if I go over to the front, negative 7.5 is, a half is 0.5. So it's actually, after a KCC, it becomes negative 7.5, because I changed the half to 0.5, plus negative 3.5, right? Post KCC I've already written. It's an SSAK problem. So I'm just going to stack my decimals here. And remember to keep my sign. So when I get that, I get 11.0, but remember, keep the sign, so negative 11.0. And number 10, at KCC, I'm changing negative 3/5 to 0.6. If you don't believe me, you go back over here, you see 3/5 is 0.6. It becomes positive 0.6 after the KCC, so I'm just stacking my decimals and I get 3.0. They're both positive, so I'm keeping my positive with that. And for the last one, let's actually change this one to a fraction. You can do it also that way too. So after KCC, I get negative 1/4 plus a negative 4.75 is negative 4 3/4. So again, SSAK. They won't always be SSAK. But you'll notice I have 3/4 and 1/4, and I can add those together. They're both negative. I get negative 4/4. So really, it's the whole number negative 4 plus the fractions that gave me negative 4/4 is really negative 1. So negative 4 plus negative 1 gives you negative 5, and that's your answer. All right, the rest are yours. Please show all work and call me if you have questions.